you. Well, the country's still talking about this, and we certainly are as well, learning more about the limo crash that killed 20 people in upstate New York. Well, the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, says the driver was not properly licensed and the limo failed inspection, especially as far as the brakes are concerned, just last month. Prestige Limousine is the name of the company, has been ordered to stop operating until the investigation is complete. You can imagine why. The owner of the company is reportedly an FBI informant who at one point helped foil a terror plot following 9/11. Well, according to reports, this is the driver. He was also killed in the crash. His first name is Scott. There he is right there. Attorney Tom Kline is here to help us break down some of the case as far as the legal perspective is concerned. Also with us is Scott Petrie, the Executive Director of Philadelphia Parking Authority. Real quickly, guys, before we get into this, here's the front page of the New York Post. Because that says it all. Should never have been on the road. And look at the limousine, what's left of it in the trees there. First of all, Scott, why PPA? Are you guys in charge of regulating limousines and things like that?
We are in the Philadelphia County. We are in charge. In the rest of the state is the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission.
Okay, guys, let's start with the limousine. Now, this isn't it because it's been crushed. There is a picture in the New York Post of what it kind of looks like. It was old. Tom Kline, it was old. It was built in 2001.
Yeah.
That's a problem right there.
Of course, a 17-year-old limousine being driven by a driver who doesn't have a commercial license in a vehicle that didn't pass the proper inspections, going 60 miles an hour. Of course, it's a recipe for disaster. This is a case where there will be both civil and likely criminal investigations and also litigation, is my guess.
No question. So let's try to keep people safe here in the Delaware Valley. Scott, how do you define a limo around here?
In Pennsylvania, it's 15 passengers or smaller. So this vehicle, the driver should have had a commercial driver's license, a CDL, and we regulate those vehicles. We inspect them as frequently as the law allows, and we actually have our own inspection facility. This vehicle never would have stayed on the road. Never. In Pennsylvania, at least for the Philadelphia Parking Authority, we would have pulled this road because there were two major problems: the driver and the vehicle.
There were 17 passengers inside of it. Are there seat belts in these things?
There are, but not for 17 passengers. My belief is, although I don't know for certain, that this vehicle was designed for 15 passengers. It was aftermarket rigged. That in of itself creates structural integrity issues that the manufacturer doesn't necessarily stand behind.
And Tom, we've all known people who've been on these party buses and limousines, stuff like that. We all, and you know, most people don't put their seatbelts on, do they?
Well, that's right. No one puts their seatbelts on, and you expect it to be safe. But the problem is that you have all of these vehicles with all kinds of early vintage and late, and long miles on them. One of the first things you could ask when you get in a limo, no one does, or in an Uber car, is how many miles are on this car? I think you can go up to 350,000 miles. Who would drive in a 350,000 mile vehicle? And that's assuming that they're obeying the law.
Scott, what are the regulations here?
Well, the regulations are that, first of all, the vehicle must be 10 years or younger, no more than 350,000 miles on it. You must be seat belted. And I would encourage viewers to make sure they go through a safety check with the driver before they...
Really?
Yes.
Right, but just think of this, Mike. All you have to do when you get into an Uber car, and I include them as well, or a limousine, ask a couple of questions. Does the driver have the right license? Does the is the vehicle 17 years old? Who wants to drive in that? Would you put yourself behind the wheel of that vehicle?
We don't ask those questions, do we?
And they're simple questions. You can look at the odometer and then ask how many times has it turned over. That's just part of the problem here. But then you have somebody who clearly shouldn't be driving a vehicle which shouldn't be on the road, who is speeding, and by the way, with a company that has an ugly safety record.
Yeah, what was their history of accidents, Tom? Have you looked into that?
I have. Very bad. They had been pulled off of the road multiple times. I think they only had three cars and 2 drivers, and in the past 3 or 5 years, I forget the exact number, they had vehicles pulled off the road something like 4 or 5 times. That's a recipe for disaster and a company
Yeah.
that shouldn't be on the road.
Tommy, you've covered so many of these accidents, including the Amtrak crash and all that.
Sure.
Have you ever heard of anything like this? Nobody survived, and so many family members.
This is such a tragedy, and it is far, far outside of the realm of what should be even possible, let alone normal.
Hey, Scott, how do we know if a limousine service is good?
Well, the first thing is you want to make sure that they are in fact licensed. We register these owners and these companies. If you're at the airport and you see someone cruising around in a limo, likely not licensed because it's a reservation system. So that's the first thing. You can go on to our website, you can call our office. If you ever have a complaint of any kind, please report it to the Philadelphia Parking Authority, because we can't be sure, the company will tell us, but we need to know so we can investigate and curtail these accidents. My staff will be looking at this report and making recommendations.
Okay.
You had the incident years ago in California where ladies were tragically burned. That changed some safety regulations.
Well, this is going to change things too. It's going to change the way we look at a party bus when it goes by us, a limousine, and certainly when we want to rent one.
We can save lives by
That's
just
right.
asking questions and then telling people and then reporting it properly.
Don't be embarrassed to ask questions.
Correct.
Thank you both.
Well, thank you very much.
Nice to be here.